A winter warning. Medics say a staffing and funding crisis will put the NHS under pressure like never before.
There isn't words to put into to demonstrate exactly how worried we are about this winter, because there's just too many things to be worried about.
Also making the headlines inside Ferguson's as the Ferry fiasco continues. MSPs visit the Port Glasgow yard.
In sport, we owe the fans a performance. The Rangers players gear up for their final Champions League match.
And as Scots head out guising, I'm in Clydebank finding out if this is the country's best Halloween house. Hello, darling, we're on the television.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6.
Good evening. Doctors are warning the NHS could face a terrifying winter and say patients are already coming to harm because of overstretched resources. The British Medical Association says there's a staffing and funding crisis and is demanding urgent action.
With the possibility of strike action ahead from NHS staff, the problems are piling up. The Health Secretary has admitted it could take 5 years for services to recover from the pandemic. Here's our political editor, Colin Mackay.
The NHS is under pressure and scrutiny. It faces a massive COVID backlog and record waiting times in accident and emergency.
Patients are coming to harm every day. It's undoubtable. I'm concerned about the moral injury that staff are facing, the pressures that we're seeing, ambulances queuing outside of A&E. We're seeing people not being able to get through to their GPs or not being able to get through on NHS 24. Some of it is just difficult to measure, but it's undoubtable that there's harm coming to people here.
The target is to deal with 95% of A&E cases in 4 hours, but figures last week show that it's as low as 38% in Forth Valley, 42% at the Queen Elizabeth in Glasgow, 47.5% at Edinburgh Royal and 49% at Aberdeen Royal.
People are dying because they are having to wait excess amounts of time. And if you have ambulances stuck waiting 5 hours to offload their patient, they can't go to the person who's got a heart attack. They can't go to the person who's got an emergency in the community because they are stuck in A&E. It is dangerous.
They'll force another debate on health care in the Scottish Parliament this week after Labour put the Health Secretary under increasing pressure and scrutiny last week.
I have been in Parliament for 23 years and I can say without fear of contradiction that Humza Yousaf is absolutely the worst Health Secretary since devolution.
This winter will be one of the most difficult our NHS has ever dealt with. I want to praise our NHS and social care staff for the incredible, compassionate care they provide the people of Scotland day in and day out, and give them an absolute promise that we will honour them, not just with words, but through our deeds.
The Tories are also pointing to problems with NHS 24, with some callers waiting more than 2 hours for their call to be dealt with over the summer. The latest A&E waiting times will be published tomorrow. Midwives have already backed strike action over pay, and an RCN ballot for nurses closes on Wednesday. Colin Mackay, STV News.
MSPs have been visiting the Ferguson's shipyard in Port Glasgow as the row over the procurement of 2 new ferries continues to be mired in controversy. The members of the Scottish Parliament's Public Audit Committee were on the Lower Clyde to see the constructions for themselves.
On Friday, the First Minister will appear before the committee to answer questions about her government's role in the fiasco after it was revealed that the latest hitch will see a delay in the dual fuel function of the ferries. Here's our special correspondent, Bernard Ponsonby.
Years late, nearly 3 times over budget, a procurement process that was quite possibly illegal. The MSPs who have been probing this affair heard first-hand today from management and workers as the saga continues to be touched by controversy. And the problems continue. Late last week it was revealed that the Glen Sannox, which is designed as a dual-fuel vessel, can only run on diesel, at least in the short term. It should run on either diesel or liquefied natural gas. Ferguson Marine told MSPs last week a technical issue will delay the dual fuel function by 9 months. The Scottish Government says ministers are seeking urgent options on the next steps to deliver the vessel to serve islanders as soon as possible.
You know, this ferry was meant to be a green ferry. It could operate on diesel and LNG, and it'll only operate on diesel for probably 9 months. And we also don't know what the extra cost of that will be. I think the whole thing's pretty farcical.
The Audit Committee have questioned all of the public agencies involved in this shambles. On Friday, they turned their attention to the political decisions that drove the process when the First Minister answers questions.
We want to know just exactly what her involvement has been, to what extent decisions around the award of the contract, around the nationalisation of this yard, were taken by her, were taken by the Cabinet, or taken by individual ministers. So we want to understand how the government has been run and what responsibility she takes for that.
The committee's inquiry is in its final stage of taking evidence, but the need to reconcile, at times contradictory positions, suggests a final report is still some months away. Bernard Ponsonby, STV News, Port Glasgow.
Research shows there's been real progress in tackling stigma around mental health in the last 20 years. A poll by the See Me campaign found there's been a 60% rise in the number of people who say they now have the confidence to start a conversation about it.
Almost all those asked also said they'd support someone struggling with their mental health. Susan Ripple reports.
Ready?
Nigel was 19 when he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. It was a particularly difficult time in his life, and he kept his feelings to himself.
I didn't really want to talk to people about it because at that time there was a real kind of stigma about mental health, and there was people just didn't say about it, or if you did, you kind of got negative kind of reactions like, oh, he's a nutter, or he's a bit of a loony kind of thing, and you kind of put on a front because you want to show the world that you're okay, but actually inside it's really crushing and you're really struggling.
But recent data shows things are changing. 1,000 people from across Scotland took part in a poll for See Me. It found 84% would be willing to start a conversation about their mental health, compared to 24% 20 years ago. It also found 96% would be willing to support someone struggling with their mental health.
This data, I don't feel it will be fully representative of everyone in Scotland. So what it shows us really is a trend of change, a trend of people being more open about mental health, which is great, and talking more about it. But we do know there are many people who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, whether it's shame or fear or concern, they just won't open up about their mental health until it's at a crisis point.
Thomas also found it hard to talk to others about his eating disorder. He recognises now being able to open up saved his life.
Speaking out about it and raising awareness and showing that we're more than just a label and a mental illness, and that we can be productive to society and that you can recover from these things as well and live a full productive life is really, really important.
And both men are continuing to talk about their experiences in a bid to help others. They hope in another 20 years' time there'll be no stigma at all. Susan Ripple, STV News.
Now, it's nearly 2 decades since the homes were condemned, and now the final phase of demolition has started on an estate in West Lothian, which had become a ghost town.
Residents of Deans South in Livingston spent years battling the local authority, unhappy with the deals on offer for them to move out of their ex-council's homes, which had been left worthless. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
It's been a long time coming, but now the crews have moved in to start tearing down the remaining houses in Deans South. Watching today, homeowner Kerry, who's lived here for 20 years.
Emotionally, a roller coaster. I'm really excited to the fact that we're moving on, so we can start the first phase so we can get our new house. It is sad because we're saying goodbye to our home, so it's a bit of mixed feelings at the moment.
While the council tenants on this estate were rehoused years ago, many of those who'd bought their properties have been living among increasingly decaying surroundings because it wasn't worth their while to leave.
The deal that they offered was a shared equity. We would own a quarter of property with them, or they would give them 20 to 40 grand for their property, which to me is not a fair deal. If you own a house, you want a house for a house. Can't market value a property or a house for a house.
Kerry's finally got an acceptable deal from developers Springfield, who now own the site. She's gone to temporary accommodation and will move into a new home here next year. The contrast between the old and the new here will soon be a thing of the past, with more than 130 homes being built, transforming a notorious estate into a modern development. STV News first reported on this story in 2004.
But for the 84 families who've bought their homes, it could mean financial ruin.
One of those we spoke to then still lives here now. While he's happy the saga is coming to an end, that's tempered with the knowledge the last 18 years are something he'll never get back.
Had things been normal, I don't even know if I'd have stayed in Dean South all that time, because the progression of families is you have a bigger family, you move on, you go to different areas, get a bigger house, nicer house. But we've been forced into maintaining a property for 19 years that's of no value, not because of any decision I made.
West Lothian Council insists the regeneration of this area has always been a key priority.
Lots of us have worked together across party boundaries to make this happen, but particularly with the residents. But there is no doubt in my mind that they have been let down by, I think, generations of councils and governments. And I think we do genuinely need to reflect on how we got to this stage, why people have been let down and why it's taken so long.
It wouldn't be Dean South without an unexpected hitch, though. Asbestos has been found today in Kerry's block, bringing work to a halt. The demolition experts on the ground are hoping the delay to progress won't last for more than a week or two. Gordon Cree, STV News, Livingston.
Other stories across Scotland, and only a third of young Scots eligible for a Job Start benefit payment are currently claiming it. Those aged 16 to 24 who have been out of work can apply for a one-off payment to help with the costs of starting a new job.
Firefighters are being balloted on pay. The Fire Brigade Union is recommending members reject the 5% award, saying it represents a significant real terms pay cut.
Coffin makers in Glasgow have gone on strike in a dispute over pay. Members of the Unite Union are walking out of the Co-op funeral care site until the 7th of November, bringing production to a complete halt. The company says it has offered staff a highly competitive pay increase and that the strike will not impact their ability to support bereaved families.
Our group of members here, they were essential workers. When most of us were at home during the pandemic, they were working every single day. And we've gone from a situation whereby we regard these workers as essential to where, when the costs are rising, that they are not being rewarded by their employers. That can't happen, and our members are determined not to allow that to happen to them.
And a freight ferry link between Scotland and Europe could be restored following fresh talks. There hasn't been a service on the route since 2018. DFDS is investigating a sailing between Rosyth and Zeebrugge.
Edinburgh played host to the first ever Scottish Black Talent Summit today. The event aimed to tap into skills shortages in industries like data science and healthcare.
Organisers say employing people from more diverse backgrounds would not only benefit the workplace, but the economy and society more generally. Kay Nicholson has this report.
Queenette from Nigeria travelled to the UK on a student visa a couple of years ago. She's been working in social care but wants to branch out.
I want a job and a career that is more fulfilling and more rewarding for me, and then which I can grow in my skills as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to harness those other skills that I have and those other transferable skills that I have as well.
Justin, a student, is in a similar situation.
The United Kingdom has done so much for me. Yeah, the opportunities they've given me, what I'm studying in the university, it's so wide, so beneficial to me. So I love to give back.
We need everybody that's here to open those doors that are closed to us.
And that's where this event comes in. It's the first of its kind in Scotland. Today focused on data science and healthcare, but there are hopes to expand it next year.
The purpose of this event is to showcase talent, to let the Scottish economy be aware that we have black talent, that they are not difficult to find, they are not hard to reach, and also to connect with businesses who are struggling to find the right talent to diversify their team.
The team wants to challenge the barriers that some people face when looking for work, and there's a range of support out there.
We're trying to negotiate also conversations between employers and organisations and the government of Scotland to see how we do not have career flights from within the country outside.
Those behind the event say bringing diverse perspectives, cultures and experiences into the workforce will lead to a brighter future for all. Kay Nicholson, STV News, Edinburgh.
And some news about STV News. We're pleased to say we picked up the Royal Television Society's award for Scotland's best news programme last night. At the ceremony in Glasgow, the programme was recognised for its coverage of the pandemic, the Scottish elections and the Euros. And thank you for your support. Now, on Halloween, Rahman has turned up dressed as a sports presenter.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Not going to rise to it. Good evening. We owe the fans a big performance. That's the message from the Rangers dressing room ahead of their final Champions League match against Ajax tomorrow night. The Ibrox side have yet to win a point from their campaign, and as Darren McRae now reports, they are looking to avoid some unwanted history.
Back on the pitch where he made his name, Calvin Bassey and the Ajax squad are currently training at Ibrox ahead of tomorrow night's clash. For Bassey's former club, it's been a campaign to forget. 5 defeats from 5 leave Rangers in danger of having the worst group stage record in Champions League history. For Giovanni van Bronckhorst and his players, a chance to restore some pride.
Obviously we have a difficult run in Europe this season in Champions League, and we have the last chance tomorrow to have a positive result. So that's what we are trying to do. We cannot compare ourselves with Ajax, but we can compete with them on the day, and especially at home at Ibrox.
The pressure on the Dutchman eased at the weekend as Rangers produced their best performance of the season, thumping Aberdeen 4-1. Tomorrow, they'll be without the suspended John Lundstrom and Ben Davies, who picked up an injury in the Dons match. This means James Sands is likely to partner teenager Leon King in the centre of defence.
We all kind of feel that the fans deserve, a little something. They've waited a long time to see us play in Champions League, so, I think we're all pretty eager to get a good result for them, and, a good result, for us. It definitely has been a challenging couple of weeks in this competition.
Meanwhile, good news for Antonio Čolak and Borna Barisic. They've been named in Croatia's provisional squad for the World Cup. Darren McRae, STV News.
In other football news tonight, Celtic are in talks with Japanese side Vissel Kobe over a January move for central defender Yuki Kobayashi. Ange Postecoglou is keen to strengthen his defensive options, and if the deal goes through, the 22-year-old would become the 5th Japanese player at the club. Meanwhile, Postecoglou praised his side's mentality as the champions defeated Livingston 3-0 to re-establish their 4-point lead at the top of the Premiership. Rugby, and Scotland's Matt Ferguson says Fiji will be a huge test this weekend as the Scots look to bounce back from Saturday's narrow defeat to Australia. A missed penalty kick at the death denied victory for Gregor Townsend's men, but the squad are upbeat about their chances this weekend. Here's Savannah Holland.
As he pulled this one as well, I think he...
The fairy tale finish didn't go Blair Kinghorn's way on Saturday evening, but the squad are pushing away their disappointment and regrouping ahead of their next opposition.
The exciting thing is we'll get another opportunity next week. I think Fiji will be a slightly different test. We know they're going to be physical, we know they'll be loose at times, and we know that that's going to bring us challenges. So next week's a huge one for us. We've got to bounce back now.
That injection of confidence can come from the knowledge that Gregor Townsend has his whole squad to select from now. The Fiji game is within the international window, which allows for the return of some big international names. Exeter's Johnny Gray is available, but the head coach has injury concerns in the second row, involving Sam Skinner, Richie Gray and Scott Cummings. But he's set in the number 8 position as Matt Fagerson and new cap Jack Dempsey fight it out for the jersey.
Yeah, I think the competition that I now having Jack in, you've got Nick Hayning, Josh Bayliss, Maggie Bradby's playing really well down south. There's competition everywhere, so it makes everyone elevate their game, and I think that's something good for Scotland, the way we play.
A dream Murrayfield debut for Ollie Smith, offering serious competition to Stuart Hogg for that full-back spot. After losing the captaincy, the Hoyk man will look to show his coach what he's made of. The squad will look to cut down on the ill discipline that saw them rack up 14 penalties at the weekend, and will do their homework on the Fijians, coached by Gregor's predecessor, Vern Cotter.
They've progressed massively over the last year and a bit, with their players coming in, a great coach under Vern. There'll be a huge test, especially coming here. They've got quality all over the park, so we're going to have to be on our best game. We'll definitely have a look at them throughout the week.
Ivana Holland, STV News.
Finally, tennis, and Cameron Norrie is through to the second round of the Paris Masters. Norrie defeated Miomir Kitsmanovic in straight sets, 6-2, 6-4 to progress. Andy Murray faces Gilles Simon in his first round match later tonight. That, folks, is all your sport tonight. Tomorrow's sport comes from Ibrox ahead of Rangers against Ajax in the Champions League.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now, Sean has the Halloween forecast.
Happy Halloween. Well, what's in store for us this evening? We'll have a look at that in a wee second, but it is looking rather wet out there. Not spine-chilling, mind you, because it is going to be a mild Halloween night. But remember, if you are heading out and about, out in those broomsticks, you need to be back by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. But let's see what's in store weather-wise.
A light drizzle is coming in from the west. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Once again, it's another week, changeable weather, spells of rain and strong winds at times. The most unsettled conditions coming in on Wednesday. A deep area of low pressure bringing us widespread gales, especially around coastal areas, but even further inland possibly for a time. So Wednesday not looking so nice. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that hopefully as we go through November, we should start to see things settle down a wee bit. Now, if you're heading out guising across Argyll, Inverclyde, Renfrewshire and also Dumbartonshire, there will be some outbreaks of rain here. A possibility of some heavier bursts at times, especially across Argyll. Elsewhere, largely dry, at least for guising. But witches, if you're heading out into the early hours, take the waterproof with you because we all will see rain as we head through the early hours, and some of it will be on the heavy side. So tomorrow morning, there'll be a few wee soggy moggies coming back after being out in those broomsticks. Now, tomorrow morning, we've got a bright start to the day. For many, it's after that rain clears away northwards. Sunny spells, scattered showers tomorrow. The bulk of the showers across the likes of Ayrshire, Renfrewshire, Inverclyde, and also Argyll. That's where most frequent showers will be. One or two of them drifting a bit further east towards Stirling and Falkirk, but certainly more frequent the further west we go. Temperatures roughly where they're going to be overnight. A mild Halloween night tonight. Temperatures should be down to 5 degrees, 11 degrees tonight, staying that during tomorrow afternoon. Then we've got strong winds and heavy rain coming through on Wednesday, but it should be a little bit quieter on Thursday. Scattered showers in the west, winds a bit lighter. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Now, it's that time of year again when we dig out the scary costumes and ghoulish decorations. But in Leven, a homeowner there has really pulled out the stops to create a spooktacular Halloween house. And it's all for a good cause.
Vicky Bell is trying to raise money for a young boy in her area who has terminal cancer. She hopes every penny raised from locals visiting her spooky, colourful abode can be used to help the family create some amazing memories together. Let's get more from our reporter, Indigo Stafford.
This is Linwood Drive, and at a first glance it might look like any other ordinary street. However, there's one house in particular that's attracting a whole lot of attention. This is the Halloween house, and as you can see, it's got everything from creepy clowns to a 12-foot skeleton. And it's attracting a whole lot of attention from locals. People are travelling in their hundreds to catch a glimpse of this spectacular sight. Well, I'm joined by Vicky, who owns this property. Vicky, what's this all about then? How did it all come about?
So, as you can tell, we love Halloween, and we just thought we would combine our love of Halloween and raise money for local charities at the same time.
Yeah, so this is all for a good cause, isn't it? Can you tell me a little bit about that cause?
So this year it's for a local kid called Oscar Hodgkinson, who sadly got cancer for the 3rd time. His family have been told to make memories, and they've got the community's been great, getting on board to raise money and that. Not just here, but other things. So we just thought we would do our bit as well. So
yeah, and what's the response been like from locals?
Amazing. You can see it's like this every single night. It's absolute carnage every night.
And you also live in the house as well. What's your name and what's it like living here?
My name's Schwabis and I'm going to be turning 8 this year, and it's legit awesome living in this house.
So if you fancy it, you can come down and see it for yourself. Indigo Stafford, STV News, leaving.
Legit awesome. Well, finally, from one Halloween house to another. Every year, one family in Clydebank turn their home into the set of a Halloween movie. In the past, they've done The Shining, they've done Beetlejuice, and this year, it's Hocus Pocus.
Oh yes, this spooky scene has attracted visitors from across the country. And of course, our reporter, Polly Bartlett, jumped at the chance to check it out. Polly, what's going on?
Well, Indigo's Halloween house was good, but is it as good as this? Clydebank has been transformed into Salem. There are hundreds of pumpkins, thousands of lights, hay bales, fog machines, and even live actors. The family that put on this display do it every single year, and it's now so famous people come from all over to see it.
It's just fun to go around and see everyone dressed up.
It's really cool, and I get sweets.
It brings the community together. We've lived in Linvale for over 20 years, and Linvale's always been really good for Halloween. Loads of people participate, so this just adds extra excitement to the area.
I like Hocus Pocus.
And what do you think of this behind here?
Hocus Pocus too.
Well, as you can see, thousands of people have come down to see the display, and it's Ollie Keenan that put a spell on his house and turned it into Hocus Pocus. Ollie, why have you done this?
It's for the community. I'm from Clydebank. I've been here my whole life, lived here my whole life, and it's something in a very strange way that I can give back to everyone. So it's a weird way to go about it. Could have volunteered, could have done something else, but I decided to wear this dress and come out here.
Well, I think you look amazing, and it's not the first time you've done this, is it? Tell me what you've done in previous years.
So in previous years, we've done The Shining, we've done Pennywise, we've done Beetlejuice. We change the theme every year, so we build everything from scratch, all the costumes, we get everything all sorted. And we like to keep it fresh and do something different every year, and everyone absolutely loves it.
Can I ask, how long does it take to put this whole thing together?
I mean, it takes a full year. I mean, tonight finishes and we're already working on the next one. I'm like the Santa Claus of Halloween, it never ends. So it takes about a full year, come up with the ideas, getting the props, getting everyone together, but it's so much fun. I wouldn't have it any other way.
And you look amazing. How long did it take to get into this outfit?
Thank you. A good 4 hours. If you want me, I can do your makeup, Polly. I can make you look gorgeous.
Well, that's almost as long as it takes me to get ready. The display is here for one night only, so if you live nearby, make sure to come down. And I know Kellyanne and John will judge which Halloween house is better, but I think plenty of people here agree with me that this one is the best. Happy Halloween!
Oh, it's a tough one. But I tell you what, inspiration there, John. Are you heading out, guys?
If I wasn't doing Scotland tonight, of course I would be, but unfortunately, 10:40 Scotland tonight.
Good excuse.
Good night.
Good night.